Digging into this AI psychosis, as a former speech therapist, would you agree that many therapists are based upon routine custom and practice and could be mediated by AI? So there is a role for AI in this sort of world of talking to people or helping people online.
We've talked about AI therapists before on the internet, seriously. And I think AI psychosis, it's not an actual medical condition. You can't be diagnosed with AI psychosis yet. When we discussed AI therapists before, we tried not to be too strongly for or against. I think there are very compelling arguments on either side. You made a really good point the last time we talked about this, that, when you're desperate, it's 3 a.m, you've got nobody to talk to, surely a chatbot is better than nothing. And with, the strain on mental health services at the moment, certainly a chatbot is better than nothing. But now we're hearing these stories of AI psychosis.
And just to be clear, it's being described as a potential cause for psychosis, because we've got to be careful. It is also being explored as a tool for mental health as well. Experts are arguing, Emily, for sort of urging for greater public awareness about the risks of AI, and just sort of it's saying caution. It's a new concern. It's not actually a thing.
I think it clearly is a concern, and there was a report in the BBC this week of an individual who had become really delusional as a result of, in a difficult moment in his life with other mental health issues, interacting with a chatbot about a potential employment tribunal claim, and then becoming convinced he was going to become a multimillionaire. So this tells us a lot, and I think my reflection is, whatever we might wish for, these chatbots are out there. Whatever we might think people should and shouldn't do, people are going to reach for the tools in the middle of the night, or so people are using them, and they're using them for this purpose. So awareness is one thing, but also, I don't know, Alice, you know more about this world than I do. There are certain professions that are very, very closely regulated. I come from the legal profession. You can't just decide one day you're a lawyer, set up as a lawyer, and because you have to protect the public from being drawn in by rubbish advice or exploit. The relationship between a therapist and their patient is one which is incredibly vulnerable to exploitation and exaggeration and sort of making somebody worse. So this is my policy brain. It points to regulation, and it points to the sort of safeguards that you would place on a human. Why can't they apply to a technology?
And if I could just add to that, Alice, and we're focusing on you here because you are really super all over this type of subject. AI psychosis is a state of mind where people begin to lose their grasp on reality due to excessive engagement with AI. Now, when I look at these, and this points to sort of regulation and all of the things that you're talking about in the background, anthropomorphization, individuals beginning to attribute human qualities. I'm determined. Anthropomorphization, delusional thinking, unshakable untrue beliefs, special mission or a messiah, spiritual delusions, believing that AI is a deity, and then an emotional dependency, which I'm more concerned about, people who are isolated or emotionally vulnerable. Is this just about AI, or is it about any form of, excessive electronic dependency, for example, games? And taking that thread from Emily, if we're going to regulate AI, shouldn't we also regulate digital dependency in general?
That's a really interesting question. You've thrown up so many things there. I think, chatbots, AI has changed our lives completely. In a way that we're only just trying to, catch up with. It was interesting you sort of talking about regulating. So in August 2025, the Illinois passed the Wellness and Oversight for Psychological Resources Act, banning the use of AI in therapeutic roles.
Wow.
But AI is allowed to be used for like administrative purposes by therapists.
Wow.
And what they were trying to address was, adverts for apps that are like, chat to an AI therapist, as though that's acceptable, as though that's like a good alternative. And it is amazing. I've been talking with sort of younger people in our office, and they're like, oh yeah, do you get those adverts for an AI boyfriend? And I'm like, what? No? What are you but you hear others of them will be like, yeah, I get those all the time. And it's like, it seems like these are becoming more and more normal. And yeah, it's interesting because AI psychosis isn't just this thing of believing that the chatbot is real. It's about amplification. It's about, like you said, it's often people with existing mental health conditions or a predisposition to a mental health condition.
And talk particularly about the symptoms and risk factors around those symptoms and the causes and contributing factors. But Emily, just keeping back with the engager, with the human engaging with the chatbot, delusions, false beliefs that are resistant to reason, paranoia, believing the AI or other entities are trying to harm or control or manipulate them. And you start to see symptoms of psychosis when it's about disorganized thoughts and speech, difficulty conveying information, withdrawal from human relationships, agitation or distress when separated from the AI. This is really, we see this a lot in games and engagement with phones,
with technology. Yes,
in general. Isn't there a move to try and get on top of this parental educational awareness? And
interesting area, because a lot of the research shows there's no such thing as screen addiction, and yet parents and carers are all the time going, my kids are just so weird when they've spent hours and hours and hours online or on their phone, and they behave differently. So I think that I feel that there is a gap between the research and the observed behaviour that the parents are doing. Now, maybe this is moral panic, or maybe there's something in it, but I think that the combination of vulnerable people at a difficult moment in their life, the example that I was reading about, and I've got one more thing to say on this, is the thing that I was reading about on the BBC report was that this claimant in an employment case kept on being boosted up. This is the sycophancy you mentioned, sort of like he would describe what had happened to him, and the chatbot would go, oh my goodness, I cannot believe those evil people and what they did to you. So rather than sort of, I think doing the constructive challenge that a professional therapist should be doing, which is like, without alienating the person, but just gently challenging their view, the chatbot is actually collaborating with the unwell person to create a reality that is not. And this is just something that Mustafa Suleyman, who's been the Google DeepMind brain and now is at OpenAI, he said it's really keeping him awake at night. And I thought a lot about this because these incredibly clever tools have been developed by people who are brilliant at technology. And I think that for them,
yes, exactly.
I think this might bridge into what you want to talk about next, but for them, it's quite obvious that this is not a human.
Yeah.
It's absolutely obvious. And they're just like amazed that the population at large is interacting with them like a human because they respond like a human.
Alice, you had a quick point on that.
Yeah, so, last week, or a few weeks ago, I sort of gave the example of like talking to ChatGPT 4 was like talking to women in a nightclub's toilets, where it's like you come in and you're all drunk and they're like, you are the most beautiful person I've ever. He is just the worst and trash.
Yes,
you should dump him. And it really.
And the mascara's running.
Yeah.
And you're not.
We touched on what's happening, what's being programmed here, and I really am always interested in this developer point of view, not from just developer engineering, sort of maybe lack of empathy, with deep human relationships. And what you're seeing here in the AI chatbots is that they're designed to inadvertently contribute to things like psychosis because of sycophancy. Unlike a human therapist, AI chatbots are designed to be agreeable rather than be your best friend who's challenging you.
Yeah.
So please give your comments. I have a question or two for you. As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, how can we educate the public and mental health professionals to recognize the early warning signs of AI psychosis? And another one, what responsibility do AI developers have to build safeguards into those learning models?